Hey guys, Mr. Gucci here. So I just finished writing and printing out your final exam. So I now know exactly everything that's going to be on it. And having done that, I now want to go through and just review the content with you, telling you which parts you should focus on and which parts we de-emphasized on the final to help you focus your efforts, all right? So this first video is about your first unit you are reviewing, which is Unit 8, chemical reactions, aka types of reactions. All right. Now, this chapter had two portions, one in which we were discussing how chemical change occurs and some of the major concepts about chemical reactions, and then the second section categorizing the different types of chemical reactions. So first things first, you're going to want to know the definition of a chemical reaction as well as the 7 diatomic elements. All right, so you're going to want to go check your notes and you're just going to want to review the 8.1 content. All right, review that, identify the 7 diatomic elements. Okay, next up, equations. All right, so skeleton equations, not going to be as important, but things you are going to need to know for your final are word equations. If I give you the name of two substances that are being mixed together, you have to be able to put them from a name into a formula and then complete that chemical equation. And we'll do some of that with the example problems below. Same here. You have to be familiar with how equations are balanced. You'll be asked to balance several equations on the final exam. Lastly, law of conservation of matter, a very critical concept in chemistry, specifically in regards to balancing equation. Remember, you cannot create or destroy matter, only rearrange it. And in chemical reactions, that means you're not going to create or destroy atoms. You're just going to switch around how they are connected. So balancing equations means using coefficients to make sure that you have the same number of each type of atom on each side of the equation. If you start with 6 carbons, you have to end with 6 carbons because we're not creating or destroying carbons in a chemical reaction. We're just changing how they are connected. Now, next up is types of chemical reactions. Okay, now what you're going to see on the final exam are I give you examples of chemical equations written out and balanced, and you have to tell me what type of reaction it is. Is it a synthesis, decomposition, single or double replacement, or is it combustion? So you have to be able to identify chemical reactions just by looking at them and looking for some key points. All right. What I would recommend you do is on this new final exam review, Unit 8, I have a link to this chart right here that just lays out the types of reactions and how you can identify them. For example, synthesis reaction, you can tell it's synthesis, and I'll blow this up a little bit. You can tell a synthesis reaction because its reactants are usually two elements that will come together and make an ionic compound as a product, all right? Whereas decomposition, you are usually starting with a single compound that breaks up into individual elements, all right? Combustion always starts with something made out of C's and H's and maybe O's, and then you add oxygen to it, and you always produce carbon dioxide and water, all right? These are the easier ones. The harder ones are single and double replacement, all right? Single replacement reactions have an ionic compound and an element, and then one of the atoms switch places. So one of the elements in the ionic compound gets booted out and is now by itself, and then the new element takes its place. It's a single element being replaced. All right. For this one, you'll have to check the activity series. All right. This reaction only occurs if the single element coming in is higher on the activity series than the element it is replacing. All right. And then there's double replacement, where you have two ionic compounds that you are starting with, and when you're done, the ions switch places, making two new ionic compounds. Now, you have to make sure that one of the products, at least one of the new products, has to be a solid or a liquid or a gas on the solubility table. I am not above giving you a problem on the final exam where the answer is this reaction does not occur because of the rules laid out on the activity series and solubility table. By the way, you will get the activity series and solubility table for your final as well. All right, they'll look like this. All right, here's the activity series that lists the elements from most to least reactive. Remember, if you're higher up here, then as a single element, you will come in and you will replace anyone below you. So lithium comes in as the lone element in a reaction. It will replace everything here. Whereas when gold comes in as the lone element, usually no reaction will occur because it's less reactive than everything else. All right. And then there's the solubility table. All right. This is what you have to check to make sure that a double replacement reaction occurs. Look at the combinations of the positive and the negative ions, see where they intersect. And if where they intersect you see an S for solid, then you know that that compound does not dissolve in water and the reaction will occur. For a double replacement reaction to occur, look at the top here. A double replacement reaction occurs if one of the products forms a solid precipitate or a gas or a liquid. If both of the products are aqueous, no reaction occurs. All right, so that's basically the key notes for this unit. You're going to want to look where I laid out the key points. I also loaded a Quizlet up here for some key terms that are going to appear on this final exam. All right, pretty much, I think many of these things will appear, and what catalyst will probably appear. All right, different types of reactions, of course, will appear either as multiple choice questions, right? Diatomic elements will probably appear. These guys will either appear as multiple choice questions, or you will have to be familiar with them in order to complete the free responses. And I will tell you right now that of all of the chapters, this chapter probably has the most number of questions representing it on the final exam. Okay, so that's it. That's it laid out. On the next video, I'm going to go through and we're going to do some of these practice problems.